Johto is a land that is not invested much because at that time the Pokemon Gold and Silver version was just an expansion to use the leftover designs of the Pokemon Gen 1 version only. But the miracle is that the Pokemon Gold and Silver version is still a huge success, which makes the publisher continue to develop so that we have a massive world of Pokemon like today. Regarding Pokemon of the Johto region, there are some very popular Pokemon, even having a strong influence on the game's strategy until later years. Let's explore together, and this is not a ranking video so there will be no particular order. Scizor carries one of the awesome dual types, Bug, Steel, although it takes 4 times from Fire-type move, but that is its only weakness, where it is resistant to other 8 types and is immune to the Poison type. So even though its HP stat was a bit below average, having this dual type coupled with a decent set of defense stats also made it quite difficult to be defeated. It can also be restored with Roost if needed, so if the opponent doesn't find a strong flamethrower right away it will be in big trouble for them. Scizor has 3 abilities but only Technician is useful and that's enough. This feature doubles the damage of moves whose power below 60, along with Bullet Punch which is also Steel-type move and always has priority to hit first. Scizor can also increase attack by 2 levels with Sword Dance, and with its good defense, it is quite certain that it can use this move successfully. And it has Mega Evolution too. That's why everyone should have at least one Fire-type move in their team. The Heracross itself is not worth analyzing so I always mention its Mega form. The defense is quite good but has more weaknesses compared to Scizor. If Mega Heracross can successfully execute Sword Dance, that's a very good thing. Otherwise with this 185 attack power, it is already extremely scary. This attack power is only weaker than Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewile with huge power. Mega Heracross also has the Skill Link ability, which makes continuous attacks always reach the maximum number of hits. For example, Pin Missiles will always fire 5 times, so Pin Missiles has total power of 125 and can counter Substitute easily. Taking advantage of this ability, Heracross can use Rock Blast to kill Flying or Fire-type Pokemon, which are its worst opponents. Although close combat is not supported by this feature, it is still not to be underestimated. The only weakness is that Heracross has no ability to overcome its weakness in speed. In the early days of Gen 2, Kingdra was an extremely stubborn Pokemon. The Water and Dragon type made it not threatened by Ice-type moves anymore, but only afraid of other dragons. And the other dragons back then actually had only Dragonite and of course it was extremely rare. However, more and more powerful Pokemon are introduced, and there are also Fairy types. So Kingdra is no longer as scary as before, but only used in the Rain team, because then it can double its speed, thanks to ability Swift Swim. Kingdra has a very balanced set of stats that can attack in both physical and special way. But its type of moves does not support well in the physical area, although there is Dragon Dance move to increase physical attack power. On the contrary, it has a lot of strong moves in special areas, such as Draco Meteor, Hydro Pump, and even Hurricane that never misses when it was used in rains. Speaking of Kingdra, we can also mention Politoed with the ability Drizzle calling for rain every time he sent out on the field. Like in Gen 2, the weather effect from the ability will last forever until another weather effect replaces it, not after 5 turns like now. Moreover, unlike the sunny weather that only increases the damage of Fire-type moves and increases the speed of some grass Pokemon, water Pokemon in the rain can enjoy both at the same time, and it's too easy to set up. And so the combo Drizzle and Swift Swim were banned from being used in the same team. Although now the weather effect has been limited in time, the Rain team is still one of the most popular strategy in competitive Pokemon battles. Blissey is an evolved form of Chelsea and is one of the most sturdy Pokemon in history. Whether in duos or single battles, Blissey still shows excellent support potential. It is quite obvious that if you do not have one Pokemon with strong physical attacks, you will be quite impotent against Blissey, because it only needs to be able to use Soft Boiled once. It will recover more HP than your attacks. Worse, it can paralyze your Pokemons with Thunder Wave or use Toxic and Smile Friendly while the opponent weakens with efforts to defeat it. From Pokemon Let's Go, Blissey's potential is also increased when Teleport is buffed. Previously this move was only used to run away from wild Pokemon, but now this move can swap Pokemon in battle and has a priority of -6, which means it will always be used last after the other Pokemons have all attacked, ensuring the safety of the new teammates to be swapped to the field. This means that Blissey suffers some attacks, but isn't that the strongest point of this Pokemon. Tyranitar was one of my favorite Pokemon of the second generation, and it also holds its own in the hearts of fans and always makes it difficult for opponents to compete despite its weak points, taking 4 times the damage from fighting type. Tyranitar can automatically create sandstorms with the Sandstream ability. In the Sandstorm Rock-type Pokémon like Tyranitar gain 1.5 times their special defense, and deal a small amount of damage to other Pokémon that aren't Ground, Rock or Steel-type. The damage is small, but it can reduce the opponent's healing ability or finish off Pokémon using Focus Sash. And this trait pairs very well with his best friend Excadrill, who has the Sand Rush ability, which will double his speed in a sandstorm. And like the duo Drizzle and Swift Swim, it is also forbidden for these best friends to stand together. In terms of Tyranitar's stats, needless to say, everything is very good, except speed. With this set of stats, Tyranitar can do well in any role. What's more, Tyranitar can also have Mega Evolution, with the stats being greatly increased. You can't ask for more from a Pokémon. Here are some more highlighted Pokémon. Quagsire has a very good dual type, water, ground, along with a good ability, unaware, but its attack stats are too mediocre. Its speed is super slow, so it can't take on any task at a good level. Steelix is the most typical Pokémon when I think of Gen 2 Pokémon. It is a Pokémon with extremely high defense, and even higher with Mega Evolution. But while it is resistant to 8 types and immune to 2 types, the weakness of 4 types are the most common attack types. So it can be said that Steelix is a bit unfortunately, but it is not weak in itself. Espeon and Umbreon are my 2 favorite Eevee evolutions. Espeon is like a mini Alakazam with the powerful Magic Bounce ability, but of course if you want to use a Pokémon like this, people will definitely choose Alakazam. Umbreon is very good at defense, but it doesn't have a real useful ability, and since Sylveon appeared, people have completely forgotten about it. Shuckle is like a Pokémon to make meme. It has 2 of the highest stats in the world, and the rest of the stats are the lowest in the world. Fighting this one takes a lot of time. Thankfully it doesn't have any healing methods. If later Shuckle has any regional form with the bug, Steel type, it will be more annoying to defeat it. Since its introduction in Generation 2, Skarmory has become extremely popular. The first is because of its cool design, and the second is that it is the only Pokémon at that time to completely counter the powerful Pokémon of that time, Earthquake Snorlax. In the years that followed, as Spike and Stealth Rock became an important part of the metagame, Skarmory became an obstacle that every team had to think of a way to deal with it. The Steel Flying Dual type has only 2 weaknesses, Fire and Electric, which is immune to 2 Poison and Ground types while being resistant to 8 other types. Skarmory doesn't need to care about Spike and Toxic Spike. Its physical defense is ridiculously high and it can even heal with Roost, making it able to stand up to other powerful attacker Pokémon like Garchomp or Excadrill. And when you use stat-boosting moves, it will use Whirlwind to force you to change Pokémon, and when the new Pokémon sent out to the field, it will step on its Spike and Stealth Rock. When you defeat it, the damage it does is already huge. Generation 8 makes Skarmory a bit weaker because of its nefts to the Spike Splattering strategy, and a similar but stronger Pokémon was born, Corviknight, also a steel-flying Pokémon, but it has more HP and can attack in some ways. There is a pretty interesting information in Pokédex that Corviknight and Skarmory are natural enemies of each other even in the wild Pokémon world, fighting each other for their territory. However, Gen 8 also gives Skarmory a new attack method with Iron Defense and Body Press. This Body Press uses defense stat to calculate damage, so Pokémon like Skarmory can use it very well. However, that also cannot make Skarmory return to the glory as before. But the fact that you've been the most dangerous Pokémon in the metagame for 6 versions over 20 years, then you are definitely one of the most successful Pokémon of all time. That's it. This Johto region doesn't have too many strong Pokémon, but any strong Pokémon has a very glorious history. What do people think? Is there any Pokémon in Johto that I missed? Please leave a comment below. If you guys like the video I make, please support me quickly to 1000 subs. For now, thank you and goodbye everyone.